Hi everyone, today it's time for a full reading journal update. So we'll be setting the fourth quarter cover page together and chat about some books I've been reading recently. If you're new to this series, my reading goal this year is 24 books, and I don't know if it's looking that good for me, to be honest. I'll need to speed up a little bit to get to that goal, but at the same time, if it doesn't happen, I've already read more books than last year, and I found a bunch of new authors that I really love, so I think that's already something worth celebrating for. Anyway, let's start by actually setting up this first book spread together, because I thought I'd have the most to say about this one, and it's a little bit nicer to have something to watch here while I talk about it. So in the last reading journal video, I mentioned that I was reading the Broken Earth series by N.K. Jemisin, and I finally finished the whole series. I don't even know where to start with this one. Many of you recommended this to me, and it was the most unique, amazing world and story development I've seen in a long time. So this is an award-winning series with a masterpiece title, and I think it truly lives up to that. It was emotional, heartbreaking, inspiring, definitely thought-provoking, and made you swim in the dark side of life and humanity a little bit. It's one of those books that makes you reconsider ratings you've given to others just because of the writing quality alone. I won't spoil anything about the plots in these videos, but there might be some spoilers in my notes, so just keep that in mind if you like to read them. However, all that being said, something I realized while reading this book is that I think I've been spoiled a little bit with the romance and murder mystery type books that I typically like to read. So even though I thought the story was incredible and the storytelling is brilliant, it was a little bit hard for me to get through the second and third book in this series just because there was that feeling missing that I need to keep reading to get to the main conclusion. This is also the type of book that very much throws you in the dark with very few clues, and you'll kind of need to use some brain power to piece everything together. There were many parts that made me feel like I'm reading a long fever dream, so I would definitely say that these are not the books for everyone. If you like to just sit back and enjoy a ride of a more straightforward, action-packed story, I think this might not be for you. But if you're a fan of sci-fi or fantasy, you should have started this series yesterday. I'm serious, go pick it up right now, you won't be disappointed. So yeah, this was definitely the most interesting and unique read of the whole year for me, and truly something that I've never seen before, which in itself already says a lot. But it also wasn't the type of series that kept me up all night, if you know what I mean. But talking about books that keeps you up all night, after Broken Earth, I picked up the newest book in the Cormoran Strike series that was my most anticipated book release of this year. This is called The Ink Black Heart, and it's the 6th book in this series, and I'm just gonna say right away, not only was this the first 10 out of 10 book for me this year, it also made me realize that this is my favorite book series of all time, at least, you know, from everything I've read as an adult. I think especially this and the 5th book in the series just simply sit right in the middle of everything I love. It's a private detective style murder mystery based in London where the cases are really complex and honestly pure genius. But what I love the most is the story of the main characters that develops outside solving the murders. So this series truly has a bit of everything. It has a slow burn romance, some creepy dark characters, complex mysteries that make you completely lost of who the killer is, and the cherry on top of the cake is the writing that I honestly don't have anything negative to say about. So yeah, I think it says a lot that this monster of a book has 1,200 pages and I still read it in a few days. It's the type of book for me that destroys your life because it keeps you up all night and makes you want to forget all your responsibilities. But I haven't had too many books like that this year, which is why I enjoyed every single moment of reading it. So yeah, I think that's that, and now let's move on. I ended up filming me setting up this next page as well because I wanted to use some of my new notebook therapy Hinoki products that they recently launched. So next I read the first book in the Black Wolf series, which is by Marsha Canham and inspired by the story of Robin Hood. I read one of Marsha Canham's book in the beginning of this year, which I really liked. It was a historical pirate love story, and I fell in love with her elegant style of writing, which I find very hard to find these days, especially when it comes to the romance genre. So in the previous book I read from her, the main female character is as badass as the guy she meets. So I kind of went into this book expecting a similar setting, which was a mistake from my end. I feel like this book was a way more old-fashioned love story with a hero saves a princess kind of vibe. So from the start, it was a little bit difficult for me to shake off the disappointment I felt about that, because it just wasn't what I was expecting. I don't think that's always a bad thing, by the way. I just need to be in a certain mood for this type of story, and I think I'll definitely come back to this series later because it's still so beautifully written. I love the Robin Hood retelling aspect, and it's also a very, very hot and steamy book. So no Disney movie vibes whatsoever, just the gender balance is a bit old-fashioned, which you kind of need to be okay with to enjoy this book. That being said, I've noticed myself being drawn back to her book selection this year, so I already know I'll end up reading more from her in the future, and I think I might pick up the Pirate series next from where I left it. Anyway, that was that, and I actually just finished another book while filming this video, which was a new find for me. I think this is called the Dark Verse series, which is a mafia, enemies to lovers type of story. I picked this one up just wishing for an easy read, something quick and entertaining, which I guess it was. But I think in general this was just an okay book for me, not the best in terms of the depth and quality of the story. So I don't think I'm even gonna set up a spread for this or continue this series. I'm kind of craving for something a little bit more complex with a little bit more exciting world as my next read. However, that's all for the book updates, and now let's finally get into setting up the fourth quarter fall cover. I wanted to use these stickers I've got from Ikigai Papir, which is a shop run by the lovely Heda from Mochi Bujo. These stickers ended up being the absolute highlight of this page in my opinion. And I also wanted to use some of these washi tapes from the new Waltz of the Flowers collection I designed for the washi tape shop. One of my favorite things about the reading journal has been using all my stickers and washi tapes because I have a lot of them. I also have a lot of products laying around from my own shop, so it's felt like such a nice outlet to be able to decorate in different ways. I include some of these products I feel guilty not using otherwise. I don't read enough books to set a cover page like this every month in my reading journal, so instead I've really liked this quarterly approach. It's felt like a very good time frame for me because I know I'll get through at least a few books in that time and don't need to feel much pressure about it or anything. Anyway, we're starting with a little bit different approach here because I wanted to try to cover this whole spread with a brown craft paper. Looking back, don't know if this was the best move here. You'll see that I started to struggle with this spread when we are progressing here. But anyway, I started by framing the corners with some of these different paper patterns and colors, and as you can probably guess by looking at all of this, it quickly started to feel like too much of everything. I think this is something that very easily happens with the scrapbooking style, especially if you don't really have a clear direction in mind. So I think this spread just kind of ended up being too messy, too noisy, and it had too much of these similar deep or medium brown tones, so nothing really stood out from anything else. I tried to fix that a little bit by adding some bits and pieces of white color back to the page, which I think helped in the end, but still I felt like I just couldn't get this right side page especially to work, so I carefully took out some of these stickers and decided to cover this page with a white paper to get a little bit more structure back to all of this. I also made a big dark title here that would draw more attention from the other decorations, and even though this spread still wasn't probably my favorite in this reading journal, I think this ended up looking much better than the first attempt. Anyway, I like to use these cover pages to list some of my reading ideas for this upcoming season. So I've been thinking to finally start the Throne of Glass series, because reading a long series would also be a convenient way for me to get closer to my reading goal. However, there's just something about the young adult genre that doesn't really excite me anymore. I've also not had the best luck this year finishing long series, so I'm a little bit worried about this and I don't know if I'm gonna change my mind. I also listed 2 murder mystery book series here, or actually the guest list is a standalone, I believe, that I've had in my reading list for a while. And Stalking Jack the Ripper is a series I came across while looking for the Veronica Speedwell series who we talked about in the previous video. So this is supposed to be a little bit Sherlock Holmes type series with some romance, I guess, which honestly sounds pretty promising to me. I also added 6 of Crows here just because I'm very interested in this series. I tried to start this last year, but then I just ended up having something else I wanted to read instead. I know this is many people's favorite, but it's also in that young adult genre, so we'll see what happens. And then in the end, I think I'd also like to read at least one spooky, maybe horror book since we are in that season. So if you have any recommendations for someone who really knows nothing about this genre, maybe something not in the most extreme, I would love to hear any recommendations like that in the comments. And in general, I'd love to hear what you guys been reading and if you liked it or not. I found so many good books this year from your recommendations, so please keep them coming. But I guess that's it for this time. I think the next video might be the end of the year flip through of this whole journal that I'm actually very excited about. And if you like to know more about what I'm reading at the moment, I do have a Goodreads account that I try to update as often as possible. All of the links and details are listed in the description. But yeah, thank you guys so very much for watching this video. If this is your first time around here and you'd like to stay tuned for more, please consider subscribing. I hope you're having an amazing day or night wherever you are, and see you in my next one. Bye bye!